while in China. It's buried in Shandong province, and the tomb has a mosque. So it looks like in 1417, actually I don't know whether the mosque still stands. It was there for many centuries. Someone has suggested to me that the Cultural Revolution may have destroyed it. I don't actually know. There was in theory for a long time a mosque in Shandong province of one of these three kings who died in the mission of 1417. So this means in the Sulu area of North Borneo, we've got Muslim monarchs in the early 15th century. Then further missions come from Sulu, 1420, 1421, 1424. Now, our friend Tome Pires calls the Filipinos Lushois, in other words, the people of Luzon. Right? And he says they're nearly all heathens. So he doesn't say it, but by saying they're nearly all heathens means some of them are Muslims. Right? They're ruled by groups of elders. They're very hard-working people. See, Filipinos are hard-working people, right-working people. Early Spanish sources tell us a little bit. There's a chap called Rodrigo de Espinosa, 1564. He visited North Mindanao. And of course, as you know, we're now talking about areas which remain Muslim. So this map is so tiny, but Sulu, Mindanao, this sort of area down the south is where the places we're talking about at this stage. The king, he says, he visited Batuan, North Mindanao. Were both Chinese and Muslim Malay traders were visiting. He said the king's women were all dressed in Indian silk. They were very beautiful. And the king had a ship with swivel guns and so firearms were part of this story. And this appears to be, again, a Muslim king. Now, the Spanish reached Manila in the late 16th century, and at that stage, in fact, Manila had just converted to Islam. And one of the accounts, 1580, says there used to be, it is before 1571, before of course the Spanish got there, there used to be among these Moors, these Moros of course, the term being used, towns under feudal lordship. Then the supreme chief framed the laws which were necessary for these Moros to use writing. And we do have surviving several examples of pre-Spanish scripts from the Philippines. There's very little pre-Spanish stuff surrounding the Philippines, partly because the early Spanish priests and conquistadores thought this was work of the devil, and a lot of stuff was destroyed unconsciously. But certainly we know that there were pre-Hispanic scripts and books in the Philippines. Now, about this pre-Hispanic religion, we've got one important account, but I'll suggest to you that there are difficulties about it. This is a chap, this is De Huarca again, 1580, talking about Manila. He says these people have a supreme god called Batula. Batula is literally Batara, it's a Sanskrit term. And he says they adored this god because he was Lord of all. He made men and peoples. He had many ministers, or anitos, who he sends to this world to do whatever they want. Now, on being questioned why they offered sacrifice to the Anito and not to the Batula, they replied that Batula is a lord so great that no one may speak to him. He's in heaven, whereas the Anito is of such a nature that he comes down from heaven to earth. Now, it is possible, in other words, in the Philippines we see the existence of the concept of a transcendent God. And if you have a transcendent divinity, of course, it's much easier to adopt a religion which also has a transcendent divinity. The difficulty is this. He's talking about Manila. There's a Spanish Catholic talking about recently Islamized Manila. So you may speculate either that because the place had recently been Islamized, the concept of a transcendent divinity was already having an influence on the way people describe their religion. Or, being a good Catholic, his concept of a transcendent divinity was influencing what he was writing down. So we can't be sure. But there is...
I'm sorry. Did you say recently Islamicized or recently Christianized?
Islamized. Manila had just been Islamized when the Portuguese got there.
Oh, I see.
And they reversed the process. So anyway, so maybe there was a Tagalog God, not unlike transcendent divinities in Islam, but there are problems with the source. In fact, there's sometimes talk about a race between Christianity and Islam. In most of Southeast Asia, there was no race. Islam was several centuries ahead of Christianity. But in the Philippines, there was literally a race between Islam and Christianity. And we've got some legends from here too. Most of the legends come from the south. There are legends from Mindanao that talk about conversion there. Also from the Sulu archipelago, we'll talk about conversion there. Now, the Mindanao legends say that in pre-Islamic times, the land was, of course, afflicted by demons, there's no monsters and so on. And then a foreign king comes called Indarapatna, which sounds very much like a Sanskrit term, and his brother Raja Sulaiman. So there you go, obviously an Islamic name. And they came and destroyed the demons. And then, of course, everything happens after that. There was a manuscript owned by one of the Datus of Mindanao, probably 19th century one, which describes a genealogy of the descendants of the Apostle of God. So they claim he's a Sharif, named Sharif Zain al-Abidin. So a descendant of the Prophet who's supposed to be named Sharif Zain al-Abidin, who goes to Johor. And there, the Sultan of Johor, who is called Sultan Zulkarnain. And he's obviously not a historic sultan.